I'll just let this song finish out. A few more seconds. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Big Discussions 76 Sports. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar. Please like the stream, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get the setup just right here. I'm going to put my earbuds in. Give me 1 second here and we'll get started. Plug this in. All right. Well, I'm assuming you guys could hear me. As you could see, try to adjust this a little bit more. Yeah. Well, guys, I am broadcasting from upstate Western New York. This is the house I grew up in. Well, starting in middle school, we moved to this house. And this is my mother's kitchen. And so I'm not in my usual surroundings. So I've had to make some adjustments, like wearing these earbuds because there's a fan event right here. And there's a prayer call going on in the living room right now. So, yeah, welcome. For those 5 people watching, you could be out getting Black Friday deals, but you came here to hang out with me for a little bit. I suspect everyone's favorite Buckeye in this space, Alex, is going to come through, and we'll just see what happens. So you guys know, well, it's the day after Thanksgiving. It's November 27th, I think, 2020. And so you guys know how I do. I have some talking points, and I found some articles from the week surrounding our football program, our embattled football program, and our embattled football coach. And so I'll show you those, and then we'll go over how the team did last week and how our opponent did last week, and then I'll give my prediction on what's going to happen tomorrow at the big house. Let's see. Once again, please like, share, subscribe, especially if you're new. I think I'm sitting at 552. If you want to make a donation to the channel, my Cash App is below in the description box. So let's jump in. I see the commenters are coming in. I know Abdul Gaines. He was the first one in. Let's see. Abdul Gaines says, my tiki torch. Okay. We got a visual for that. So let's show, I think Abdul Gaines, who is my unofficial show producer, has fallen in love with my tiki torch concept. And he's been showing a number of these in our text group. And so he's ready to tie up Jimmy at the stake and burn him and the program. So Abdul Gaines was the first one in. My tiki torch is well lit. Jim Harbaugh deserves to be fired. We're already off to a bad start here. Geez. Hello, party people. That was me. Alex Dilworth, my brother. What's going on, Alex? And Yakov 22 says, today is an all-American day. I'm off work, watching college football on TV and Big Discussion 76 Sports on laptop. Appreciate it. Okay, so, well, a couple things before we jump in. If you noticed, part of my style is humor. So I was going and looking for a thumbnail for this broadcast, and I was looking for pictures of Jimmy with his mask on and pictures of James Franklin with his mask on, and I found this picture of James Franklin I didn't see this press conference. He was obviously looking to show something on his leg, but I thought it was hilarious, so I used it in my thumbnail. And then, of course, there's James Franklin with his face covering. But, this was not meant as any disrespect to the Nittany Lion fan base. But again, humor is a part of my personality, so I could not use this picture of James Franklin. Okay, so let's jump in to my pregame spiel. I have some talking points. I go through those, and I suspect Alex will come through at least for a little bit. And if not, once I finish my pregame spiel, we'll cut it. We'll stop, because there's more turkey and stuff in the refrigerator. So I thought today I would start off with a global overarching look at the college football landscape. And I know this is going to chap some of your hides, especially you, Abdul Gaines. But I thought I'd take a quick look at the college football playoff rankings. Just again, for overarching perspective on where our program is now. So this is the college football playoff website. And we're just going to take a look at the top 10. So our usual suspects are there. Alabama. Oh, geez. St. Nick actually, from what I've been hearing, has contracted the where is it? Where's my picture? Geez, I thought I loaded it up. Give me a second here. St. Nick has contracted the bug. So everyone, let's keep our fingers crossed and say a prayer for St. Nick down there in Tuscaloosa. This is the weekend of the Iron Bowl. So they're matching up with their arch rival, Auburn War Eagle. So I don't think St. Nick will be on the sidelines. But anyway, so the usual suspects are in the college football playoff top 10, Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, the Ohio State University, Texas A&M, Florida, Cincinnati. Oh, we have a Luke Fickell alert. Cincinnati, Northwestern. Wow, Northwestern is in the top 8. Georgia and Miami. And so, geez, for another year in Jimmy's tenure, we are on the outside looking in on the college football playoff landscape. There were actually a few years when we were in this discussion. I'm thinking about 2016 and definitely 2018. We were in the discussion for this. But as you know, after the Ohio State games, we fell out of contention for one of the top 4 spots. But this is just what's going on now. If they were to choose the 4 playoff teams today, it would be Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, and the Ohio State University. Let's take a quick look at the Big Ten standings. I'm going to read some of the comments here. Okay, I already read that one. James Franklin, I don't think he should be fired, but he's mad annoying at times. By the way, I didn't realize that according to Abdul Gaines and his brother, Urban Gaines, that's his nickname, I guess James Franklin was in the middle of that Chase Young controversy last year down at Ohio State. I didn't realize that. So the Ohio State fan base is not a fan of James Franklin. I'm going to read this one. Harbaugh is the guy. Hey, Abdul Gaines, check that out. Harbaugh is the guy, but he needs to get over sentiment he has for assistants for when they fail or start to go downhill. Coach accountability. So I think Blaine is talking about Dr. Defense, Don Brown, and his Viper defense. So, yeah, that's one of the things that Jim I've heard quite a bit is that Jim is very, very loyal to his players and to his assistants. So even when his assistants aren't putting together the right schemes and making the right adjustments, Jim will stick with those assistants and kind of in a Jim Mora way. I think Jim Mora, one of the reasons he got fired from the Saints that year, he was crying, was he didn't want to let his assistants. So coaches are many coaches are very, very loyal to their assistants. And if you're an assistant, that's kind of what you want. You know, you want your top guy to stick by you, but for the health of the program, sometimes the head coach has to make hard decisions for the kids and for us, the fan base. Okay. So let's jump in here. So, the Big Ten standings. Let's see how things are sitting in the Big Ten right now in this COVID year. So right now, this put the West on top of the East. Normally, you'd expect to see the East on top of the West. So in the West, Northwestern is leading the Big Ten West 5-0, followed by Whiskey at 2-1. Iowa's at 3-2, Purdue's at 2-2, and then you're looking at Minnesota, Illinois, and Nebraska. So Northwestern is 5-0, and that would account for why they are in the top 10 of the college football playoff rankings. So let's look at the Big Ten East, and surprise, surprise, the Ohio State University is 4-0, followed by Indiana at 4-1. Maryland is 2-1. Our Maize and Blue is 2-3. And Michigan State is 1-3. Rutgers is 1-4. And Penn State is 0-5. So they're definitely looking for a win against us tomorrow. Now, Abdul Gaines asked a very interesting question during last week's live streams. And he also asked me this question again yesterday, which is if Michigan finishes 4-4, will that be a win for the program? As you could tell by his earlier comment, Abdul Gaines, as with a lot of you, I'm sure, still want Jimmy fired. But I'm of the opinion that, under the circumstances with the injuries and with this being the type of year it's been, I think 4-4 for us is okay, especially with the instability at quarterback, and especially with us having to figure out who the quarterback is. I think 4-4 is, I'd be satisfied with that. And I think that if we have the guy, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit shortly, and we have a whole off season to get everything else shored up, like depth, get our health back, and get mini camps with the players and getting players acclimated and not having guys opting out like they did this year. I think that bodes well for next year. And again, for the Michigan program, I think the stability at the coaching position is the hard part. If Ward Manuel were to fire Jimmy, they still have to pay Jim, or I guess they'd have to do a buyout, and then they'd have to find another coach. And so you probably disrupt the continuity. You may lose AJ McCarthy, and just the whole thing will probably get disrupted, and you're starting over from scratch. So I vote to not fire Jim after this season. Let me take a look at this comment here by Blaine Young. Blaine Young says, that is what happened when we had Drevno up until he left. He was left with no other choice. Let's see. Alex says, Blaine, why do you think he's the guy? Blaine, I'll let you answer that. And Alex follows up by asking, what does the guy mean? So I just got to Abdul Gaines' question Is 4-4 a respectable finish? What's interesting is that right now, I don't even know if I want to call it a quarterback controversy, but well, yeah, it's a bit of a quarterback controversy, even though based upon what we've seen over the last 2 weeks, Cade McNamara, if we look at how the offense has performed under both the guys over these 5 games, clearly Cade McNamara has, I think, earned at least the right to start tomorrow. So we started the season off with Super Joe, and I made a video saying that Super Joe is the guy, and Super Joe may be the guy to lead us over Ohio State next. And of course, well, we've seen what's happened over these first 5 games. It's tough to know. Joe started off well last week against Rutgers in terms of that first series, and then the offense just seemed to stagnate a little bit. And then Jim or Josh made the executive decision to throw Cade McNamara in there. And from my vantage point, the offense seemed to take off and start gliding with Cade McNamara under center. So the question is, and me and Alex kind of went back and forth over this last week, was whether or not Cade McNamara had the exact same offense that Joe had. So in other words, were the same plays and formations being called for Cade McNamara when he went in there, or did Josh Gaddis change up the play sheet when Cade McNamara went in there? If it was the exact same play sheet, if it was the exact same set of plays, and Cade McNamara was changing the plays at the line of scrimmage and calling audibles to Cornelius Johnson, then clearly he's a better QB than Joe. If they changed things up a little bit for Joe, for Cade when he went in there for Joe, then that explains why Cade was able to move the ball so well. But it just seems like when Cade gets in there, the decisions are being made quickly. The ball's getting out faster. He's able to, I want to say, finesse plays. He's able to make plays when it seems like there's nothing, and he seems to be able to do things like throw guys open, like on that first Cornelius Johnson touchdown throw last week. Things just seem to be different. And then even the running game seemed to ignite when Cade McNamara got in there. So 2 schools of thought. It's Cade, or it's the plays that they were calling for Cade, and Joe would have been able to do his thing if they had called those same plays for Cade McNamara. So we'll see. I would expect that if Cade gets the start, he'll be able to move the ball pretty well against Penn State tomorrow. But when you go against the Ohio State in about 2 weeks, then what? So we have some more chatter here in the comment section. I'm going to get to that. Let's see what these guys are saying. Blaine says, and this is in response to Alex's question. Alexander, he is the right coach for the job. He is the right coach for the job. We haven't had any serious controversies. We also get talent into the school. It is about getting the right assistants to develop and motivate. Blaine further says, which I will admit has been lacking, hence refer to my first comment. Abdul Gaines jumps in the fray and says, The U of M offense under McNamara and Joe looks like night and day. Even though McNamara has shown well in subbing for Joe, Harbaugh has bungled the QB position throughout his UM head coaching tenure. We talked about that ad nauseum here on Big Discussion 76 Sports, the grad transfers. Though I think it was something Alex said about Shea, that Shea was the top guy coming out of high school, going to Ole Miss. I've been kind of hard on Shea, but maybe Shea had the goods, but maybe Jim and his staff just didn't develop him the right way. Hey guys, by the way, this is Penn State week. This light above me in my mother's kitchen, it's a motion light. So I'm going to do my Saquon Barkley here and try to get this light not to go off. Saquon Barkley. Alex says, Blaine, I see what you're saying. Is he the guy if his assistants are doing their job? Isn't his job to make sure they are doing their job? Okay, that's a good point. A head football coach at a major Power 5 conference and in the NFL is a CEO, and his job is to recruit the players and to recruit the most competitive and competent staff. So the other question, besides our quarterbacks, speaking of assistants, we're going to go back to Dr. Defense here. The defense has really let us down. Let me soften that a little bit. I'm a practical guy. The defense has had its challenges, and I think injuries have been a major one, and we've had young corners. So I'm going to read an article by David, citing some words by David Pollack, but I think the offense, the quarterback position this season and the defense has been the two major challenges for our team this season. So bear with me for a second here. I appreciate you guys being here and commenting. And those of you who are watching, if you're new here, please subscribe. Please like. If you want to make a donation to the channel, my Cash App is in the description box below. So I've left several articles under this live stream, but I'm going to read through this one. It's short, but I think it kind of captures everything and kind of sets the stage for tomorrow's game. So let's see. This is entitled David Pollack. I believe he's part of the ESPN staff, gives a prediction for Michigan versus Penn State. This is written by Matt Howe 19 hours ago. So this says, take a sip of my coffee here. Tim Hortons coffee, everyone. We have this here in Buffalo. It's a Canadian chain. I like it. Normally, Big Ten powerhouses, the Michigan Wolverines and Penn State Nittany Lions, aren't exactly having the type of seasons they've had hoped for. Michigan is just 2-3 on the season, and Penn State is 0-5. Man, that's surprising that Penn State is 0-5. The first time in program history that they've started winless through 5 games. On Saturday, the two disappointments will square off in Ann Arbor at noon Eastern. As of Thursday, the Wolverines are a 1.5 favorite in the game. During a recent edition of ESPN's College Football Podcast, David Pollack previewed the game and predicted who he thinks will ultimately come out on top. I don't think Michigan is great, but I do think Cade McNamara is the guy, Pollack said. I think he has a little something extra to him. Haskins being the main focal point at running back. Last week, he got a career-high 23 carries. I think those two give their offense more. And listen, Penn State's offense is a nonprofit. They're just going to donate the football to you consistently, even if you are Michigan and you don't do well defensively. I'll take Michigan. McNamara came in and saved the day for Michigan last weekend versus Rutgers. The Wolverines battled back from a 17-0 deficit against Rutgers on Saturday night to win 48-42 over the Scarlet Knights in triple overtime. After starting quarterback Joe Milton struggled again, McNamara stepped in and was efficient. In fact, nearly flawless as Michigan's offense woke up. McNamara finished the game 27 of 36 for 260 yards and 4 touchdowns once he stepped in for Milton. He was outstanding. Really gritty performance. Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh said of McNamara after the game. I can still hear Jimmy saying that. In all ways, execution was outstanding. His play was inspiring. Can't say enough great things. So proud of him. Reminds me of some of the great comeback wins that I've been a part of. Fox analyst Joe Klatt during an appearance this week on The Herd with Colin Cowherd discussed the struggles of both programs. He believes the two longtime Big Ten powers have been hurt by the same issue. I think a common thread between the struggles of these two programs, Klatt said, I think there's a common thread. And the struggle, at least in my estimation, has been on the defensive side. These two teams have played great defense the last 3 years. These have been top 5 Big Ten defenses, top 10 in the country over the last 3 years, and now they're sitting at 101st, tied. Wow. Giving up 36 points per game. That's a problem. That is a huge problem. Despite Penn State's winless record, Klatt believes Michigan's issues are more complicated and more difficult to solve this season. For Michigan, we're almost done, guys. For Michigan, I think it's a deeper problem than what Penn State's is. And the reason is that you can point to Micah Parsons not being on the field for Penn State, Klatt said. I think he's the best defensive player in college football, or would have been this year. Him not being out there is a drastic blow for Penn State. Meanwhile, Michigan, they just don't have the corners. Yeah, we've seen that firsthand. They're not getting to the quarterback, and they don't have the corners to play like they have the last couple of years under Don Brown, who's very aggressive, man coverage, blitzing style of defense, who's a very aggressive man coverage, blitzing style of defensive coordinator, and they're just getting torched on the outside. Okay, this is the finish, guys. I think about it. Rutgers scored more points on Saturday against Michigan than they had in their previous 5 meetings. I mean, this is not even close for Michigan, and I don't know what the answer is. They're recruiting really well. They've got a top 10 class in for 2021, but they need help on the outside, and I don't know where that fix is. Okay. Well, that was a little encouraging by what Joel Klatt said. We have a top 10 recruiting class coming in next season. Yeah, so our defense is struggling. I'm going to read some comments here. Let me see. Blaine Young says, Alexander, yes, but my only negative outlook in his sentiment for the assistant coaches. I also didn't like this old school play calling, but he has now since changed. Yep, that cost us in the 2018 Ohio State game. Abdul Gain says the 2020 U of M defense has been the worst I've seen in my 3 decades rooting for Michigan football. Blaine says, I would say if he doesn't show that he can make changes after this season, that may change my view. I suspect he's going to stick with Don unless Don steps down. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Alex says, I love Tim Hortons. They have one in Columbus, Ohio as well. Yep, very good stuff. Maybe even better than Starbucks. Blaine said, that's fair. I don't think it matters either way. Honestly, keep him or not, coaching is 33% of the problem. And Blaine says, Alexander, yes, sir. So at this point, guys, I'm going to throw the link in the chat. Alex, you can come in if you want. I'm going to look at last week's game for us, and I'm going to look at last week's game for the Nittany Lions. So the battle of the gyms. You know, one of the articles that I saw this week and is in the description box below, they're talking about a buyout for James Franklin right now. So I think the Nittany Lion fan base is getting, I think their patience has worn thin for James Franklin, just like half our fan base, their patience is wearing thin for Jim Harbaugh. So it's very tough to be either of these two gyms right now. So let's take a look at last week's game for us. Let's see. And again, I didn't watch Steve Dace's video on the Michigan podcast, but the title of Steve Dace's podcast was Rutgers, you know. So while it was exciting to get the win and it was good to get the win, I think we all need to keep in mind that, yeah, it was Rutgers. So the final score last week, Alex, I see you in there. Give me a second. The final score last week was 48-42. It went to triple overtime. These are the stats for the quarterbacks. Joe had a good first series, and then the offense kind of petered along, and that's when our offensive staff made the change. Cade McNamara went 27 for 36 for 260 yards, 4 TDs, and no interceptions. Me and Alex kind of batted this back and forth about the reason for this and the lack of production here. Hassan Haskins had a good game, ran for 109 yards. I think they should stick with him as the feature back and maybe use the other 3 for a change of look. Cornelius Johnson caught the first touchdown pass. He had a good game with 2 touchdowns. Nick Eubanks scored. Mike Sammer still scored. Let's see. Cade McNamara ran for 1. So that accounts for our scoring. Let's see who got. Josh Ross got 1 sack. Daxton Hill got. I think that was the game sealing INT. And our kicking game. Yeah, our kicking game didn't help us. Quinn Norton went 0 for 3. Let me take a look at. Let's take a look at how Penn State did, because that'll tell us something about how they're gonna, what kind of offensive production they're going to get. I'm gonna let Alex in right now. Screen share. Penn State. Okay, that's Penn State. Let me let Alex in. Alex is in. So Penn State lost to IU 36-35. It looks like, yeah, they were able to put some points up. Scored 7 in the first quarter, 7 in the third, 14 in the fourth. Sean Clifford, 24 for 35, 238 yards, 3 TDs and 2 INTs. That's probably what I think David Pollack meant by their offense is a nonprofit. He turned it over twice, and that's perhaps he's been turning it over all season. Maybe that's why he said that. Wow, Sean Clifford led them in rushing with 119 yards for 13 carries. Debbie Ford carried 20 times for 69 yards. And then their leading receiver was Jahan Dotson, 4 receptions for 94 yards. And then Pat Freeman, 7 receptions for 60 yards. Each of those guys scored a TD. And then Parker Washington caught the ball 2 times for 20 yards, 4 TDs. So they were spreading. Clifford was spreading the ball around. So based upon how our defense is playing, I don't see why he shouldn't be able to move the ball tomorrow. So I suspect, I think that call in terms of the point spread is probably safe. So if we win the game, I think it'll be by a small margin. What's going on, Alex?
What say you, my brother? How you doing?
Not much. I'm good.
How's the trip?
It's been fine. You know, the drive is pretty smooth.
Cool.
It's a nice upstate New York fall winter day. It's gray. It's chilly. So
I can show you what I'm looking at right now, but you might be a little jealous.
Okay. Hey man, it's all good.
So I'm actually looking at the St. Johns River in Jacksonville, Florida. My place is actually right on the river. I could probably throw a rock to it. It's that close.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Indiana, Penn State. Penn State is having a really, really tough year. You know, they had the best defensive player in the country opt out. They have been decimated with injuries and opt-outs in their running back room. So I don't know if anybody watched the Indiana-Penn State game, but Penn State, even with Clifford having those 2 turnovers, Penn State controlled that entire game. One thing that I will give credit to Indiana, and I didn't realize this until Ohio State played them last week, but Indiana is the number 1 team in points off of turnovers. When they get turnovers, they score, which, I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, that's for Indiana, that's an incredible stat. I did not know that. You know, in regards to last week's performance at Michigan with Rutgers, I feel a little differently than you do about it. I feel like if Rutgers has a competent kicker, you guys lose that game in overtime. I mean, I know I keep saying this, man, but it's Rutgers. Like, it's Rutgers. You know, they're a program that's starting from scratch and they're building, and I mean, it took every mistake under the sun for them. They played completely undisciplined football down the stretch and in overtime in order for Michigan to win that game. So the way I saw it, I feel like it was more, I feel like Rutgers lost that game in so many different ways. Not to say that, you know, there was a good quarterback play, but the way I was looking at the game, I just feel like every opportunity that Rutgers had, they just fumbled it away. And yeah, I mean, the one bright spot I did see is that I felt like the corners played a little bit better than they have in the past couple of weeks. But then again, it's Rutgers, so like I don't really know how to gauge that in regards to the corner play or the secondary play, I guess I should say. So, I mean, I feel like Daxton Hill getting that turnover at the end of the game. It's great, but you know, you're there you're in your third overtime. You're trying to get in the end zone. You had a really great play, holding, backs it up. I mean, Rutgers was just shooting themselves in the foot all night long. And I think they had 12 penalties where Michigan had 6. Can't do it. No matter what happens, you gotta play. If you want to win games, you have to play disciplined football. And Rutgers did not, so that's why they did not win.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was more aberration of what they did to themselves versus what Michigan did.
Okay. Well, Alex, you know, another I'm not disagreeing with you. Another question to ask though is how does that game look if McNamara plays the entire game?
I think it looks the same. I don't think it looks any different.
Okay. Because the Michigan team was in a hole before McNamara went in.
True, but when you're behind and you're having to throw more, it's just the situation is different. I think that Rutgers was going to do what Rutgers was going to do because Michigan's defense is just that bad. So, maybe, I mean, we don't know how the game would have won if he would have started. Maybe he might have got picked off 5 times. We don't know. Or he might have threw 5 touchdowns. We don't know. I just know that when he comes in, it's a different look. His feel and the scheme that like I went over last week, where Rutgers really likes to blitz. They're a blitzing team.
Mm-hmm.
To get after the quarterback, well, if you're getting the ball out, you're taking quick 3-step drops, you're getting the ball out under 2 seconds. It kind of neutralizes what Rutgers likes to do from a defensive standpoint. I don't know why the offense fluttered, put it out, when Milton was in the game. I felt like they were moving the ball. I actually think I probably should have been back and watch it again. It seems like they fluttered out the moment that he threw a pass to, I can't remember what the receiver's name was.
Cornelius. Cornelius was the fumble?
Yeah, the fumble. I feel like the offense sputtered after that. So I don't know if that was necessarily his fault or not. He put pass right on the money, he turned it upfield. I don't know, like on that particular route, he turned the wrong way to begin with. But, I have no idea what he was doing fumbling that football. The offense kind of put it after that. And I don't know if that's okay, we're rolling. And it's just like, okay, here we go again, where something happens. And everybody's head is down, and then you're like, okay, like this is going on. We just need to switch it up. We need to switch it up again. I don't know. Like I said last week, I don't think that's an indictment on Joe per se.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you bring McNamara in, you're doing quick reads, quick 3-step drops, getting the ball out. Again, I don't know if Joe has that in his game or not. I mean, only the coaches and the players know that, if he has that in his game, if he's able to do the same things that McNamara was doing. Because if you go back and watch the film, you can clearly see they're running deep routes, deep crossing routes, deep outs, deep comebacks, things like that. And with McNamara, I mean, they were talking about quick hitches, quick slants, things like that, where I didn't necessarily see that when Joe was in the game. So the scheme of the way they were attacking the defense was just different. So I mean, I guess we'll see. I don't even think they've named a starter. Have they named a starter yet?
I haven't heard anything. I mean, at this point, I don't see how you don't give it to McNamara at this point to see what he can do.
Again, I don't think it's. So there are a bunch of different. I'm sure there are a bunch of different contributing factors as to who's going to be the starter. But I don't see where, like, from my opinion, I don't see where Joe's not the starter right now. I don't feel like he's lost. He hasn't done enough to lose the job, I guess I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I said this the other day. If they have the same opportunities,
yeah.
If Joe is showing, okay, if you see that they're blitzing, and okay, instead of running these deep patterns, trying to push the ball downfield, which is what he's known for, we're going to do these quick outs to kind of back the defense up a little bit. If he did that and it couldn't do it, and McNamara came in and McNamara did it, that's one thing. But when you take him out, put McNamara in, and then you attack the defense completely different than you were attacking them when Joe was in the game, that's not Joe's fault. It's just not. And it's not fair. It's not fair to him. at the end of the day. I don't feel like that's really giving him a fair shot.
Okay.
But this coaching staff is incompetent, so it wouldn't be surprised if they did do that.
Let me read this comment here from Abdul Gaines. Says Penn State would be crazy to jettison Franklin. He has multiple 11-win seasons and a Big Ten title on his resume in State College. He's been able to recruit very good talent. PSU will be fine in 2021.
Hey, Abdul, James Franklin hasn't had a top 6 recruit in 3 years. I just want to point that out in his own state. 2 years. Going into, well, I say 3 years, going into the 2022 cycle. He has not had a top 8 player in the state of Pennsylvania. That's a problem. I don't think he should be fired, but I just wanted to give you that piece of information.
And Abdul says, "What up, Alex? Happy Thanksgiving, bro."
Happy Thanksgiving, my brother.
Okay, so this next comment, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna show it. I want to remind everyone that I want to keep this live stream and this channel a safe space for everybody. You know, I bring Alex back because I feel like he adds value to what I'm doing here. I don't think his comments about the state of the Big Ten and how much further ahead Ohio State is, I don't think those comments are malicious. It's just commentary. We're just talking about sports. Opinions vary, and I want to keep this channel civil, and I want to keep it.
I can take the heat, man. Just put it up.
Space.
I don't know what it is. I can take the heat. It's fine. I can take it. That's fine. Hey, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, right? Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Okay.
Well, you're gonna like Jordan's next comment, Alex. But let me read this one from Abdul Gaines first. Not having Ambry Thomas is a loss, no doubt. That being said, U of M should have enough on defense not to be the worst I've seen in 3 decades. Being a Michigan football supporter. Well, if they don't have those techniques right when they're lining up against those wide receivers, well, we've seen what's going on. So, Alex, you'll love this one.
Okay.
Please have Alex on the show when Michigan shocks the Buckeyes this year with McNamara at QB.
Hey, listen, if they lose, they lose. If they win, they win. I'm not playing. I don't play for neither one of the schools. I just root for them. So, I don't see that, but, if they win, hats off to them. Like, a clock is right twice a day. So, you guys are due, right? I feel like you guys are due for a win. I just don't think it's this year or next year or the year after that or the year after that. But, I feel like you guys eventually will you guys recruit well. You get some coaches in there that develop those kids. And, I feel like you guys will definitely have a shot. But if Ohio State comes to play 60 minutes of football, it's not even going to be close. It's not going to be close. And that's not to mention the mercy rule is still in effect. So if you don't know what that is, I'll explain it to you. But the mercy rule is still in effect. That's still coming. So
all right,
we'll see.
Hey.
If they do, I'll be here anyway, and we'll commentate on it either way.
Hey, break it down for us. What's the mercy rule in this context?
So for some reason, Jim Harbaugh decided when the coaches were having their meetings after the Big Ten canceled the season, Jim Harbaugh was saying how Ohio State players weren't following the protocols, etc. And in the meeting, Ryan Day asked, where is he getting this from? And Jim Harbaugh really didn't have an explanation. And was just ranting off random facts. And he just said, we're going to make the Big Ten put in a mercy rule as bad as we're going to beat you this year. So, if hanging 63 is not enough, hang 80. If 80 is not enough, hang 100. I don't even care at this point.
Wait a minute. Did Jim say that this year or last year?
This year.
Boy. That's that's not smart. I don't know that I would have done that.
It was before we got back playing. So this was when they were trying to. This is maybe a week or two after the The president of the Big Ten canceled the season, and they were trying to figure out how to put a season together, and they were having those meetings. And in those meetings, some words were said, and Ryan Day said, "We're going to make the Big Ten put in emergency rules battles. We're going to beat you this year."
Oh, Ryan Day said that.
Yes, he said that.
Okay.
He said that to Jim. Yeah.
Okay. Jordan says, okay, I already read that one. He says he's right about one thing, and that's Don Brown. Yakov22 says it's not his job to be entertaining nor informative. That said, it would be nice for Harbaugh to put a bit more effort into his press conferences. He's not Belichick with 6 Super Bowl titles. Okay, so I think this is what
I feel like
displeasure.
That's a fair assessment.
What is this displeasure over how Jim answers questions at the end of the game?
Yeah, I mean, Jim is very aloof sometimes, and a little quirky. So, I mean, I also think that contributes to him not wanting to throw anybody under the bus. It's one of those things where like we praise coaches who stand up for their players and try to take accountability, but then when this guy tries to do it, you bash him for it. I mean, he's the type of guy who his players stink. Let's just call it what it is. Right now, Michigan stinks. And I feel like he knows that he's part of the problem, but instead of trying to share the blame, he's taking it all himself, which, that's what you're paying him $8 million to do, is to fix whatever problem this is. And part of that is taking the head of the responsibility. And I feel like it's really messed up that he's getting crushed for it. I feel like that's a good tribute to the kind of person, the kind of coach that he is.
Okay.
It's easy to say, well, this player didn't make this player, this guy didn't do this, or my assistant didn't do this, or we're not developing guys, so it's my assistant's fault. He hasn't said any of that. He's just taking it head on as it comes. And from that standpoint, when people say, he doesn't necessarily have the fire, that's crap. Like, people who don't care and don't have fire about their job would not do that.
Yeah, he's definitely mastered the art of the blank, confused. We're working hard in practice every day, and we're gonna get back to work, and we're gonna sharpen our spines, put steel in our spines, and so yeah, he's mastered the art of that.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, he did look like he was ready to cry after last year's Ohio State game.
Thank you.
I think
that's what it was.
I think someone in the press asked him after that game, "Are you even trying to win the game?" And he snapped. Rick says Jim accused Ohio State of practicing with instruction from coaches during a period when it was not permitted by the Big Ten. Okay.
That's what it was. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate that.
Sour White, he likes my thumbnail. Let me show you. You know what? I could not. When I saw this picture, I had to use it. I don't know
what James was doing when he. I don't know what he was doing.
I don't know what James was doing there. But there was another picture where he was also lifting up his shirt to show them something. So I don't know what he was doing there. But yeah, I had to use that picture.
I think James Franklin's a really good coach. Like I said, that program has he's done so much there. To have the season he's having is definitely unseen. And like I said, when you got players out, and I mean, they got their top 3 running backs. I mean, 2 of them are hurt, or I think one opted out, one's hurt, and one had to retire from football. I mean, we're talking about guys that are going to go to the league, and they're not playing. So, I mean, they become kind of one-dimensional. They can only throw it, which for them might be good because apparently Michigan can't stop anybody. But I don't think that's a Michigan problem. And I was thinking about this as you were talking. I think I've seen this all over college football where nobody can stop the pass this year. Nobody. It's everybody. It's Alabama. It's Clemson. It's Ohio State. It's Michigan. It's everybody. Nobody can stop the pass this year. I don't know what's going on in college football, but teams are just slinging it around the yard. And I mean, obviously, bad defensive play is bad defensive play, but like when you see Ole Miss hang up like almost 50 against Alabama, they had like 450 yards passing. You see Boston College darn near beat Clemson. They're slinging it all over the yard, and Clemson's defense is pretty good. Ohio State is Ohio State. If they just play, I don't know about Ohio State. If they play one half of football and they're undefeated, so I don't even understand them right now. But it's everybody, man. Everybody. Heck yeah, he's a way better coach than Harbaugh. That's not even in question. I don't even understand why that's even a question. Like, I'll put it like this. One of those coaches has beaten Ohio State. The other one has not.
Wow. When did Penn State beat you guys?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. All right.
Let's just say, I believe it was 2017 or 2007. I think it was 2017 or 2018. And we were up. All we had to do was punt the ball, let our defense win the game. Punt, the long snapper goes over the punter's head, and then guy picks it up, runs it in for a touchdown with like 15 seconds left on the clock. But they got the W, regardless of whatever happened. They got the W, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So, one of those coaches is 0-5. The other coach has actually won a game. So, and that particular coach has also won a Big Ten championship on top of that. I believe he won a Big Ten championship. Penn State has. So.
Yeah, they got into the championship game in 2016.
Yeah, so.
Albeit on a controversial call.
But needless to say, I don't think that's even in question. I mean, James Franklin has brought in players, developed them, and they've gone on to do good things at the next level. So, and I just feel like they've had far better seasons than Michigan's had since Franklin's been there. I don't think it's a question. And I feel like they get the same. Those programs are battling for the same recruits. So if you get one, if you don't get one, whoever they're getting, they're just developing at a better rate than Michigan is right now.
Okay, so you would say Franklin is a better coach?
I don't even think it's a question.
Or is it based upon development? Because you said they're recruiting the same players.
Based upon development and his record.
Okay.
But they got some stuff going on over there at Penn State that they gotta. I don't know. I'm not gonna comment on it. They got some issues over there that they need to get squared away. So.
We have a question for you guys now. Does Wade miss Okudah?
Wade misses. No, I'm gonna tell you something. Wade doesn't miss Okudah. Wade misses Okudah, Arnett, and Josh Proctor. He misses all of them. All three of those guys. Like, oh man. Like having those three guys in the backfield with him, it's tough. So I feel like I think there's a couple things that's going on. I think Wade is definitely pressing. I think that he understands how young Ohio State's defensive backroom is, how young the secondary is. I mean, we're trying to figure out right now. We're playing single high. I don't feel like that's necessarily working right now. But I don't know because you play a team like Indiana and you shut them down. It's 35-7 at halftime. Right, and then Indiana comes out, and it's just like a completely like Ohio State just takes their foot off. I don't know what's going on there, so I don't understand it. they play two different halves of football every week. You know, they come out and they dominate the first 30 minutes, and then they just let the team do whatever they want the remaining time. And I don't understand it. I don't get it. But, you know, I think Wade is definitely pressing. He understands how young that back room is. And, you know, I'm sure he's prideful. He came back to play knowing that he was going to be a first-round pick and in next year's draft. So, you know, I'm sure he's having to maybe try to cover up for mistakes. So, I mean, and I see where Indiana really didn't throw his way. Like, teams aren't really throwing his way either. That's the thing. So I think in certain situations, 50-50 balls, he's lost some, he's won some. You know, he had the pick six last week at Ohio State against Indiana. So, I mean, I think he's, you know, 50-50 right now in regards to his battles. But people also aren't throwing his way. So he's still no slouch. He just has had a little bit of a rough outing starting off. But I think that's all. I think that's just defense in general. I think that not really having the off season and not having those tune-up games to get in the conference play, I think it's hurt every defense in the country. I think everybody's struggling when it comes to defense right now.
Okay. If anyone's frustrated by hearing Ohio State talk, we got these guys in 2 weeks. So, geez, I can't wait. I can only imagine what the spread on that's going to be.
28.
What spread? You think 28?
28.
Okay.
Maybe 24. 21 to 24.
Another one, Abdul Gaines. Does OSU miss Halfley? What position did Halfley play?
He was the defensive backs coach. And the thing is, I don't even know. I mean, they pretty much do the exact same thing. You have to understand that the BIA factory started with Kerry Combs. You know, he had Ward, Lattimore, Hooker, the one guy who transferred in from Alabama, Conley, like that. Those were all Kerry Combs' guys. So, you know, BIA started with him. So I don't know if necessarily, you know, I think we're really young at the position. We're playing true sophomores, you know, true juniors that have never played, have never really had a chance to play because we had, you know, we just had the players that we had, and those guys were just behind. You know, we had a situation where probably the guy who would have been starting is probably going to end up in jail. So,
oh, geez.
Yeah. So, you know, Seven Banks is really good. Cam Brown's really good. Unfortunately, he tore his Achilles the first game or second game of the year, so he's not in there. So, you know, right now they're just searching. I mean, they got true freshmen in there that that they're looking at. So, I mean, the room is deep, but you know, we got to figure out how to solve those issues. You know, and keep in mind, like, and this is for not just for Ohio State, but for everybody. Starting flat out going into conference play is crazy, where you have no tune-up, no nothing. That is, you know, you get a chance to play those young guys on both, you know, for every team. Like, you get a chance to play your young guys and see what they have, and you get to tweak things. Or keep in mind, we're only 5 games into the season, right? So, like, at this point, you would have had a couple tune-up games here and there to make those adjustments, where you're making those adjustments in the middle of conference play, which is why everybody's probably freaking out about it. So, like I said, it's not Ohio State, it's not just Michigan, it's Alabama, it's Clemson, it's Oklahoma, it's Texas, it's everybody. Everybody's having the same issues on defense. It's not just a single problem for like one or two teams, it's everybody.
Okay. And I think that's important for everyone to keep in mind. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. I'm sitting at 452. Yakov22 says, at this point, it seems Harbaugh and Michigan have thrown in the towel regarding recruiting any Ohio player that OSU wants. Oh, okay.
I mean, we're two different programs. And I was kind of going back what I was asking Blaine, like when Blaine says that he feels like Jim is the guy, what is the guy? Um, where is it that Michigan would like to be? Where does it see itself? Um, once you figure that out, are you making decisions on making that a reality? So I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what that means for them. I have no idea. I, I don't know. I know two things. I know Michigan is probably going into this year. They probably have the eighth worst quarterback. No matter who you put in there, they have the eighth worst quarterback in the conference. They're not developing their players. They're just not. They're right. This year is just not a. It's just not a good year. And I'm not going to try to put the way the season's going on Jim per se, because maybe if they would have had those 2-0 games, the season might be a little different. Maybe you can make those adjustments. It's just really hard to start going right into conference play, and you're just going off of what you see in practice. There are no scrimmages because they scrimmage as well. They scrimmage before they even have those non-conference games. So you have the ability to see yourself against other teams, and like I said, get those young guys out there, get their mouth wet in the game, and see what they got. I mean, we don't have any of that. So like this season could have went completely different if they would have had those games. Maybe Joe Milton never starts a conference game. We don't know. Maybe he comes in, he gets a feel for it, and he just kills it. We will never know. So 2020 is just, it is a complete admiration of everything being flipped on its head. So, that's why I made the comment. I don't think it really matters what you do with him going forward this year, because I really feel like 2020 is just crazy. It's just a crazy year. So, certain teams have adjusted to going right into conference play, i.e. Northwestern, who's 5-0, which is like really weird. In Indiana and, Maryland, if they could ever play a game again, Wisconsin's being eliminated. Like it's just a very like weird year. It's just weird. So I wouldn't necessarily judge what's happening too harshly. I mean, we sit here and we talk about it because we care about the game, but when you take a step back, certain teams have adjusted and certain teams haven't, and I don't think that's an indictment of the coaching. I just think sometimes stuff just happens, and you just kind of have to move forward. Maybe this year just isn't their year. Maybe they're not built very well for the situation, but in a traditional year, maybe they have 8 or 9 wins. You know what I mean? Maybe they're not 3 or what are they? 2 and 3?
2 and 3.
2 and 3. So maybe at this particular point with some with some extra practices and scrimmaging against other teams, and then you have your non-conference play. If they're 5 games in, maybe they're 5-0. Who knows, right? We just know that this particular season, it's just not going really well for them. And again, I don't think that's totally his fault. I think it's a situation that everybody's dealing with every single day. So, and keep in mind that like these players as well, we don't know what they're going through with the protocols and all that. So yeah, I'm sure it's really tough all the way around.
I want to say, see everyone, Alex is giving nice, balanced commentary. So Rick says, I don't see, you'll like this one. I don't see the Buckeyes going past the first round of the college football playoff. Depth on D-line and no Dobbins.
Depth on D-line? Rick, go back and watch the tape because they get pressure every single time, the D-line. And great, no Dobbins. I mean, we're only averaging 200 yards a game. But, those are just the facts. The D-line gets pressure. Penix, I will say this. Man, that dude is good. And the fact that you had him, it almost reminds me of Ohio State situation the last couple of years where you had Haskins and Burrow, where like Haskins was just balling out of his mind, and then Joe Burrow goes to LSU and wins the national championship. Can you imagine having Ramsey and Michael Penix Jr. in the same room where like one of them has to go somewhere and transfer? He goes and transfers to Northwestern, and now Northwestern's 5-0. Like, I mean, that whatever they're doing in Indiana, I'm a little worried about that, but they're building something really special over there. But if you watch the Ohio State game, the D-line got pressure on Penix all night long. They were hitting him, and he just stood there and made throw after throw after throw after throw. That dude's a first-round pick as far as I'm concerned. That dude, like, I think he's a sophomore. I don't know what he is, but he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Like, you know, he might not be in the first tier, but he's definitely in that second tier, man. I mean, he was putting passes. I mean, you know, some of those receivers weren't open. Some of them were, but some of them weren't open. And, you know, sometimes there was a lot of blown coverage, but he stood in there. He took a beating. He took a beating in Columbus and almost came out of there with the win. So the guy can definitely throw, and he's very, very talented guy.
Okay. We'll go for about 15 more minutes, guys. Triple Coles asks, how will Penn State's defensive line match up against Michigan's offensive line? Will PSU be able to get pressure on McNamara? Let's take a look at some of the – go ahead, Alex.
I was going to say, Matt, you can't get pressure on a quarterback. It reminds me of Tom Brady. And, God, I hate Tom Brady, but I love Tom Brady. Tom Brady dinks and dunks you all day long, and they run the football, and then they catch you slipping, and then they throw it over the top. That's what Tom Brady's always done his entire career. Dink and dunk, run the football, dink and dunk, pass over your head, 20, 30 yards. That's pretty much what McNamara is doing. So it's very hard to get pressure on a quarterback when they're getting the ball out in 2 to 3 seconds. You know what I mean? It's really tough. It's darn near impossible. You pretty much have to have a completely blown assignment in order to get pressure on a quarterback that's getting the ball up that quick. So I don't think I don't know. I think that if he's getting the ball like that, nobody's going to be able to get pressure on him. So I don't think that will even matter, the offensive line. You know, they could basically stand up. He could 1, 2, 3, get the ball out, and it wouldn't matter anyway. So, I don't think they're going to get – if he plays like that, it's going to be hard to get pressure on him or anybody that gets the ball out like that.
Okay. I pulled up some stats here. So, defensively, the Penn State defense is allowing 360 yards per game. The Michigan offense is generating, on average, 400 yards per game. In terms of stop that. Defense. Let's see. In terms of sacks, Penn State in 5 games has 12 sacks for 91 yards. And then sacks against Michigan in 5 games has allowed 8.
So they're about even.
Yeah. It looks like a bit of a stalemate to me.
Yeah, they're about even. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I look at it like this. Do I honestly think Michigan is a 2-3 football team? No. Do I think Penn State – have they won a game yet?
No, Penn State's – they're winless.
I don't think they're a winless football team either. I think in a traditional year, they're not a winless football team. So I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. And I feel like both these teams in a traditional year, their records would be a lot better than what they are right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think to Trepa's question about the defensive line versus the offensive line, a lot of that's going to be dictated by how quickly McNamara gets the ball out of there.
He gets it out there quick, really fast.
Yakov says, I will say something a bit sharp. Indiana is better coached than U of M. However, they also have more talented players, wide receivers, defensive linemen, offensive linemen, running backs, and the quarterback are all better than the U of M counterparts. So
I would agree. Is he saying that Indiana's more talented, has more talent than the U of M players?
I think that's what he's saying. That's how I'm perceiving it.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I definitely think they're better coached. And like I said, when you got two guys and you got two quarterbacks in a room, you split them up, and they're 9-1. And the one is against like the team that has pretty much dominated the conference for like the last 20 years. That's really saying something about what they're doing over there in Bloomington. I don't agree with the wide receivers because Michigan has some really good wide receivers. And I don't agree with the running back, and I do agree with the quarterback. They do have better quarterbacks than Michigan, but I don't believe they have better wide receivers, and I don't believe they have a better running back.
Surprisingly, Michigan is beating Indiana in total yards, and they're beating us in total touchdowns, 21-19. And in total defense, in terms of defense, Indiana's given up fewer yards per game, 378 versus 437.
Right, so, but keep in mind that when Indiana gets turnovers, they're scoring on a short field, right? Where Michigan's not getting the turnovers that Indiana's getting, so they probably will have less yards but more touchdowns because the defense is getting turnovers at a very, very high pace, where they're having a shorter field than it would be for Michigan to score.
Okay.
So there's a huge difference when you're starting from like the opposing team's 40 or the 50-yard line versus starting from all the way back at the 20, and having to put a drive together. Like, their drives might be 50 yards, or Michigan's drive might have to be 70 or 80 yards.
Abdul Gain says, tomorrow I would like a 20-carry game by Haskins. A featured running back would make such a difference going forward for Michigan. Yeah, I think, all the commentators say he's our most physical running back, and it seems like every time he gets in there, he makes something happen. So I don't see why. Go ahead.
No, I say he falls forward. I love the fact that that's something that all running backs don't do. He always falls forward when he runs. He runs hard. I don't think he's the most talented guy in the world. But he runs really, really hard. He has really good vision, and he always falls forward. So, a 4-yard gain will turn into a 6-yard gain just by him falling forward, and his legs are always moving. So I really, really like the way he played against Rutgers, but, we'll see. I think, Penn State is definitely more talented than Rutgers is on the defensive line and in the backfield, but we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I think from this point on, they should give him most of the carries, and then bring Chris Evans in to catch a few balls. Maybe you bring Corum in for get a couple touches to change the pace, and maybe use Charbonnet to spell him. But yeah, I would give Haskins the majority of those carries.
Yeah, I would too.
Thomas Weatherford says, our defense couldn't stop a girls powder puff team. Okay. Well, I mean, they're not Maryland is last. You know, Maryland's in terms of total yardage, Maryland is giving up 474 yards per game. But clearly, we've had those injuries in the front seven. Cam McGrone got carted off last week, which kind of I didn't like to see that. You know, he's my favorite defensive player, but he got carted off. And, of course, our corners have been getting beat all season long. So.
But I do think they played a lot better against Rutgers. And by better, I mean they turned their heads around.
Yep.
So that's a start. Because they weren't doing that before.
Okay. Let's see if any more comments have come in because we're going to wrap up soon, but let's see. Just give me a second here, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me a second here. So we're going to wrap up this way. We're going to take a look at the league tomorrow. That's the wrong one.
Are they playing at in where's Penn State play? State College.
No, it's in our house.
Oh.
So tomorrow,
what's the spread?
According to this article, 1.5. So we're going to win by. We're picked to win by 1.5.
Ouch! I was going to say.
So yeah, that game could go either way. So tomorrow, Ohio State goes into Champaign. Penn State comes into the Big House. It looks like Maryland is back in play. They're playing. So Maryland goes to Bloomington, and Northwestern goes up to East Lansing.
Maryland goes where?
They're going to play Indiana. So Tua's brother versus Penix.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm definitely watching. I forgot. I'm definitely watching that game. That is going to be the game of the week. You heard it here first. That is going to be the game of the week.
Let's see. We have another comment here from Thomas. Thomas says, thanks for the coverage, guys. Now, if you could pass off to our DBs.
Hey, man. I'll tell you what. No, I'm not even going to bring that up because I said it. I don't talk Ohio State football unless somebody else brings it up.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand the statement. Could you pass that off to our DBs?
Yeah, the coverage because they suck at coverage.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. Thomas. That's good. I think they recruit well. Sometimes when you recruit a kid that does one thing and he comes to college and, you find out, okay, maybe this isn't his forte or maybe he doesn't. These kids don't necessarily fit in the scheme that we're running in the secondary. Change the scheme. If they can do it on offense, they can do it on defense. Change the scheme. It might take a couple of weeks, for it to get to where you want it, but change the scheme. And then, figure out what you're going to do in the off season. So,
okay. Yeah, guys, I think what Alex said earlier, this is just a janky year. That's a word for weird. It's just a weird year. So, so for us, I don't know. I think clearly, unless Joe sees the writing on the wall, you got to have a quarterback competition going into next season. Unfortunately, I mean, I wish we could just pick a guy and stick with that guy, but based upon this year, maybe there's going to be a quarterback competition, quote unquote, going in. I don't know what you tell Joe right now about what's happening. Go ahead.
I mean, my question is like, so I understand that McNamara came in and played really well, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what he is yet. All we know is that he's come off the bench and he's thrown we had a conversation the other day. You really have to look what McNamara has done in two separate circumstances. He came in, slung it around against Wisconsin. That game was over. It was over when he was in there. The game was over. Did he look good? He looked good. But the Wisconsin game was over. They were just I think they were up 35 points. They were just trying to get out of there with the win. The Rutgers game, different situation. He comes in, second quarter?
Yeah, it was second quarter.
Second quarter? They're down 17. Rutgers was the better team that day. McNamara did play really well. I feel like Rutgers as a whole was the better team. And they, when you have 12 penalties for, almost 100 yards, you can't win like that. You shoot yourself in the foot all the time. But keep in mind that there was a competition and Joe Milton won that competition. He won that competition for a reason. So, if they go back to practice and he wins if he's winning the competition in practice, then what do you do? That'll be my question. Because it was an open competition between him and McCaffrey, and he won the competition, which is why McCaffrey's not playing. By all accounts, McCaffrey was a better player than McNamara. So, we don't know. It gets really weird when if you see something in practice. I guess in McNamara's case, if you're not seeing something in practice, but something different is translating on the field, how much stock are you giving that? And with Milton, if you see something in practice, but it doesn't translate to the field, how much stock are you putting in that? So, I definitely think they have some decisions to make. Again, I don't feel like Joe's done anything to lose the spot at this particular point. I don't feel like he's done anything to lose the starting job, in my opinion. If you give the guys the same opportunities and he doesn't produce, then absolutely. But just looking at the film, he hasn't had the same opportunities that McNamara's had. So, and it could be one of those things because I know McNamara hasn't practiced with any of the starters either. So, as a matter of fact, he's never practiced with the starters. His first time in the game was the first time in playing with the starters against Wisconsin. So, it's tough to tell. I definitely can see an open competition maybe next year.
Mm-hmm.
To see who's going to start. But, to me, if Joe goes out there and just looks completely horrific, and they're running the same plays as they're running for McNamara, then, you put McNamara in there again, and then you just move forward with him and say, hey, man, we gave it the best shot, and right now it's just not working, and then you move on. But he's already won you 2 games. I think if he plays the Indiana game, Indiana's a better team. I don't think that matters. You might be able to pull one out with Michigan State, but keep in mind he's also really young, so there's no expectations for him. What do you do when you have expectations with him being so young? He has no expectations. He's not even a starter. He's just coming in there and just making the read and just going with no consequences because he knows he's not the starter. But what do you do when you are the starter? What kind of pressure does that bring at a Power 5 conference school like Michigan? We don't know. He could cave under all that. He could flourish in all that. We don't know.
Yep, that's true. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I know against Michigan State, some more points would have changed the complexion of that game. That's just my personal opinion. Some more flow, some more movement on the offensive side of the ball would have at least made that game closer. Because they only won by 3 points.
Right.
They didn't double our score. Okay, we have a few more comments coming in. Abdul Gaines has a question for you. Alex, have you heard any updated news on Ohio State football's COVID-19 cases?
I have not. Actually, after this, I was going to take a look at that because I know they have a couple positive tests. So I don't know. I believe it has to be like 5% of the campus before they call a game. So I'm going to look at that as soon as we jump off of here. I have no idea.
Okay. Yakov says, often listen to Sirius Radio / Danny Cannell. He said, if you don't have 6 to 7 future NFL players on each side of the ball, you aren't a true contender. He also said, you can't win a title if your quarterback is not a future first rounder. Wow.
That's not true. Alabama doesn't have future first round picks, but it seems like they've won a national championship like every other 3 years. They don't have first round picks at quarterback, so I don't know if I necessarily believe that. Ohio State didn't have a first round quarterback. They didn't have a first rounder quarterback when they won. So that's actually, it's not true. At least that part of that comment's not true. I don't know what team has 6 or 7 NFL players on each side of the football outside of like the top 3 programs in the country. Maybe LSU every other year or every 3 or 4 years.
Okay,
that's pretty much it. So I get what he's saying. I completely understand what he's saying. That I get where he's going with it, but that's just that's just saying that Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson are the only teams that can play for a national championship every year. That's okay. That's all he's really saying.
Yeah, I know. Abdul Gaines was pretty big on the fact that if you're one of the big time programs, you're sending quite a few kids to the NFL. So that's a marker of whether or not you have a winning program.
Yeah, I mean that comes with how many games you win. Are you winning your conference? How are you developing your players? Are you getting players? So recruiting is one thing, but getting players that actually fit into your culture, into your scheme is something completely different. I know that 2017 class who's just completely gone. I don't know if any of those guys from Michigan fit into Michigan's culture. And I don't know what Michigan's culture on the football field actually is. So, but when you have turnover like that in one class, I've never seen that. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll hit one more comment, then we'll wind things down. Thomas Weatherford says OSU beats us by 80 this year. Ouch.
It's
hard to with our corner play and our front 7 injuries in the way, just the sheer power of Ohio State's offense. It's hard to argue against that. I mean, I hope it doesn't happen, but
I will say this: since Thomas brought it up, there's only one way to beat Ohio State right now. And if they fix that, it's over for Michigan. Because you can't run on Ohio State. Can't do it. Can't run on them. And they can run on you, but you can't run on them. And they can throw on you, and you can throw on them up to this point. So if they fix that secondary, you might see 80. You might. That's a very big if, though. It's a very big if.
So wait a minute. What's the one way to beat Ohio State? How do teams do it? Throwing on them?
But I mean, that's what I see. But again, I'm going to put an asterisk by that because I'll put it like this. You can beat Ohio State if they show up and play for only 30 minutes like they do every other team. You have the opportunity to beat them. If they play for 60, you don't have a shot. Nobody. I don't think anybody in the country has a shot of beating them if they play for 60 minutes straight. I don't think anybody can beat them. Not even Alabama.
Not even a Clemson team with Trevor Lawrence starting?
Definitely not Clemson. Definitely not Clemson. So here's the thing about Clemson that I realized about 3 weeks ago. I pray DJ. I'm sorry if I mess up your name. DJ Ungalalele threw for 450 yards at Notre Dame and lost. If Trevor Lawrence was playing that game, they still lose. They still lose that game. And Notre Dame has the most aggressive defense in the country. I mean, they are big, they are nasty. I love watching their defense play because I'm a defensive guy. But any quarterback in the country plays that game, you slot him in. If Justin Fields plays that game in a Clemson jersey, they lose that game. Clemson loses. I mean,
wow.
I mean, it's not the fact that you gave up 48. You gave up 48, which means that when you're playing a defense like that, they would have had. There could have been obviously a couple throws here or there that Lawrence could have made, or Fields could have made, or even Penix could have made, or the kid from BYU who's really good. There's some extra plays in there, but you can't give up 48 to Notre Dame. You can't do it. Not with their defense. Their defense is tough. And for me, I think Ohio State can outscore everybody. That's what I'm basing that off of. To me, them and Alabama are the two most balanced teams, running and pass wise. So, and I just feel like because Alabama has the one hurt receiver, I feel like it gives Ohio State an edge in that regard. And I feel like Ohio State has the better quarterback, even though I think Mr. Jones is the real deal.
Okay. So these will be the last two comments. Thomas says, hope they all get COVID. He's talking about you guys. That's the only way to beat them that I see. That? Well, here it is. It's the only way to beat them that I see. Got to disqualify you guys.
I mean, it's not a loss. It's just it's a canceled game. So you don't get the 0-6. You still have the 0-5. I mean, that's the only thing I could say.
Okay. Well, yeah, we're gonna close this down, everyone. So right now, I'm gonna summarize by saying, okay, we're on track for a Big Ten championship game between Northwestern and The Ohio State University. Tomorrow's game for us, Michigan is picked by 1.5. I think that game can go either way. Alex, do you have any parting shots? I want to show my James Franklin picture here again.
Please don't.
Come on, man. I'm proud of this.
Look at that thigh. The baby thigh. Oh, that's hilarious. I feel like if I'm Michigan, I feel disrespected by the 1.5.
Really?
Yeah, I would be, but I understand why it's the 1.5. It's because, you went to triple overtime against Rutgers, and you lost to Michigan State, who got blasted by Iowa. And I mean, you got the doors blown off playing Wisconsin, and then Wisconsin loses to Northwestern, who happens to be the best team in the Big Ten West. So, what do they call it? The leaders, the leaders conference, or whatever they were calling it.
It was leaders and legends. It used to be that.
The legends. But I think that's a little disrespectful. I mean, again, Penn State's coming in with a bunch of different issues, I mean, we'll see. I feel like it's really disrespectful. I mean, I do think they're evenly matched, but I don't know. Maybe they're giving the 1 because if we had fans, maybe it would be 7. Like, I don't know. I think that's really, that's a little disrespectful. I mean, Michigan has won 2 games. So, and Penn State hasn't won any, and it's at Michigan. So, and, you have the improved play of the backup quarterback. We don't really know what's going on there. But maybe that's it. Maybe the line is 1 because they don't know who's going to start. Maybe that's it. But I would definitely feel disrespected if I was a Michigan player. I'm like, okay. We're a 1.5 point favorite against a team who hasn't won a game. I would be upset.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. My parting shot would be if everybody, guys, if you have the opportunity. I hope everybody had a great, happy, and blessed Thanksgiving. Hope everybody's safe out there, and if you can, watch the Maryland-Indiana game, because I feel like that's going to be the future of the Big Ten for the next 2 to 3 years. So I feel like next year Penix is probably going to be the best quarterback. Him and Tulia Tagovailoa are probably going to be the 2 best quarterbacks in the conference coming in next year. So, it's a preview for what's to come over the next couple of years. So, if you have the opportunity, definitely tune in and watch that game. So, because both those guys can really play. They can really sling it. So.
Okay, yeah, I still have to see Tua's brother play, and it sounded like you said he's better than Tua. I thought that's what you said. I could be.
I would say they're different. Tua is very, very, very accurate. He doesn't have the arm talent that his younger brother has, though. I feel like his younger brother has better arm talent.
I mean, that's saying something, because Tua can really sling it himself.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the zip that his brother has. He doesn't have that. Now he doesn't have it. It's different. It's just different.
Okay.
It's very different. Tua is very, he's solid. He's super accurate. He's very, very, very accurate. He can throw it down. He can throw it down the field as well. But I mean, his brother that ball is getting somewhere really fast. And not like a Joe Milton, but like on a sling. He's putting it. I watched him put the ball in places where the ball had velocity and only his receiver could catch it in stride for like a 50-yard touchdown. And I was like, holy cow, like, is this what I'm hoping that like they don't get all the players in the DMV area, because if they do, Maryland will be building something that's really special, because we know how many good players come out of the DMV area. I mean, Ohio
That's
State.
where Chase came from, right?
I'm sorry?
That's where Chase Young came from, right?
And Dwayne Haskins.
And Dwayne.
I mean, we get players from that area, and we put them in the NFL. Ohio State recruits the DMV area very heavily. So, if Maryland can get some type of stronghold on that, that would be, a cap in their hat, or a feather in their cap. But yeah, I mean, definitely watch that, because I feel like that's the future of the Big Ten, and we're getting a early preview of that. So both of those guys are going to be really good for years to come.
I'll have to try to take a look at that game. Jordan says, I appreciate Alex. I know I've been giving you, I can't say that word because my mother's in the other room, but you make this show interesting for sure.
Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate it, man. Just make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the like, comment, or, trying to grow my man's channel. So, anybody that go ahead and send them the link so they can come in and, and see what we're talking about on this platform.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. I'm sitting at 4:52. Thomas says, I wasn't saying I hope they get it. I was just saying that's the only healthy way. Only way we could beat them. And then we'll finish with Abdul Gaines, who says, Alex, if it really hits the U of M fans, or no, if it hits the fan at U of M, does your offer for me to come on board the Scarlet and Gray still stand?
Always. You're always welcome.
With open arms.
Welcome. If we'll take Greg, we'll take you. I'll put it like that. If we'll take Greg, we'll take you. So you're definitely welcome. The Scarlet and Gray, it just hits different. It just hits a little different. That's all.
I'll tell you what. If Tua's brother is as good as you say it is, I wouldn't be surprised if Abdul Gaines goes and roots for Maryland.
I'm actually silently. I'm rooting for Maryland. I mean, they're a really young football team. I'm not a big fan of their coach, but I am a big fan of the improved product I see on the field. So, and I'm all about the Big Ten being better, because I'm tired of the whole SEC bias crap. It drives me insane. I feel like we're just as talented as those other conferences. So anytime I see talent coming in the conference, I'm definitely going to root for them.
Okay. Let's see. Salute Go Blue. Thank you. We got Ohio. We got Ohio easy. No cap. Okay.
All right. I mean, if that's how you feel.
You know what, Alex? I'll say this: we have some confident Michigan fans. Regardless of what we see, regardless of how things are playing out, we've got some confident fans no matter what.
I hope y'all play in a lottery with that type of confidence.
Which I guess in a way is a good thing. But
to play a Powerball, jeez.
G2Easy says, love your stream. Appreciate that, G2Easy. And then finally, Thomas Weatherford says, have a great day, guys. Thank you, Thomas. Well, yeah, thank you for everyone who came through and watched. If you're watching this on the playback, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to make a donation to the channel, my Cash App is in the description box below the stream. Alex, thank you for coming up once again. I think I'll be able to see it on my mother's see the game on my mother's main TV on her Fire Stick.
You're not gonna go to B-Dubs and go watch it,
dude. We can't, because New York State is on. I think we're on Code Red. We've
really?
elevated.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we've elevated from Orange.
Oh man, that's
so. So we can't go to the official Western New York Buckeyes game watch location to watch the game.
So all those locations are closed?
Yeah, you can only get takeout here in Western New York now. So, but I should be able to look at it from here.
Okay.
So I'll let you guys know when I'll do the post game. It'll either probably be on Sunday morning, It's good to have a night to digest things and refresh. So
I don't know. It might be a good win. You might have to do a Saturday afternoon. Be a good win.
Yeah. I'll make the call in the morning. So, last one. Abdul Gaines is not a SEC guy. Him and his brother hate the South. The overt bias that's shown in favor of the SEC is nauseating. They can't stand Clemson. They can't stand Alabama.
Now, I'm not going to go that far. Because I'm not going to go that far because those teams are good, but it's the whole, the SEC by far is the best conference and yada, yada, yada. No, I'm not going that far. But, like, those two teams, I'm not. They're just that good. But, everybody else, like, they're good, but I don't think they're as good as everybody proclaims that they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like Florida and Texas A&M and Georgia. But then again, you forget to have Missouri and Ole Miss and, those teams that just stink up the joint. Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Kentucky. They stink up the joint. But I digress.
Okay. G2 Easy says, Curious McNamara, please. Okay. All right, everyone. We're going to wrap it up there. Alex, thanks for coming up. Please like, share, subscribe. Go Blue or whoever your team is. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Be safe out there. If you're going to get, deals at Walmart, or if you're going out to get food, be safe out there. As always, remember, everyone, that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon. Peace. Watch out for the post-game live stream.
Have a great day.
All right, Alex.
Have a great day, guys.
All right, everyone. Bye.